Hello, second grade, and welcome to Unit 2, Week 5. This is the last week of Unit 2. After this, we're going to start up on Unit 3. So let's go ahead and get started with our vocabulary words. Now, you only have 4 regular vocabulary words for this week, as well as 4 words that are related to poetry, since we are going to be working with different poems this week. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So your first word for this week is the word flapping. So if something's flapping, it's moving up and down. So if you think of a bird when it's flying, when its wings are moving up and down really fast, its wings are flapping. Your next word is the word feathers. So feathers are the soft parts that cover a bird's body. So last week we had the word fur to talk about mammals. This week we're talking about feathers. So feathers cover a bird's body. If you've ever seen a bird up close, a lot of times you'll see that some of their feathers can come off. You might find some feathers on the floor. So they're the soft parts that are covering a bird's body. Your next word is the word express. Now, when you express your feelings, you're showing them or you're telling them. So you can say that she expressed her happiness by smiling at everybody, or he expressed his sadness because he had tears in his eyes. So when you are expressing your feelings, you're showing them or you're telling the people around you what feelings you're having. And your last vocabulary word for this week is the word behave. So when you behave, you're acting in the correct way. You're acting the way that you're supposed to. So if you're behaving properly, you're following the rules, you're following directions, you're doing the things that you're supposed to do. Now, for this week, we're going to be working on 3-letter blends. Now, we talked about 3-letter blends way back, I believe in Unit 1, if I remember correctly. So 3-letter blends are when you have 3 consonant letters that you're saying together. And you can usually find these 3-letter blends in the beginning of a word. So some of the blends that we're going to go over today are SCR that says scr, SPR that says spr, STR that says str, THR that says thr, SPL that says spl, and SHR that says shra. And you'll see these as we go through our words. So we have the word scratch, scrape, spring, thrown, stripe, strange, shred, shrub, splash, split, catch, sting, far, flower, and until. So pay attention to those 3-letter blends. You're going to see them in these first 10 words. Moving on, we're going to talk about our language arts and grammar notes for this week. So like I told you earlier, there are 4 poetry words that you're going to learn in addition to the 4 vocabulary words. So that makes 8. Your first word is the word poem. So a poem is a kind of writing that expresses or shows imagination or feeling. So remember, the word express, when you express your feelings, was one of our vocabulary words. It means to show. So a poem is a kind of writing that shows imagination or shows feeling. Now, rhyme is when you have words that have the same ending sound. They don't necessarily need to have the same ending spelling, but the sound at the end of the word needs to be the same. So mouse, house, cat, hat, far, star, all of these have the same ending sound, so they are words that rhyme. Your next word is the word rhythm. Rhythm is the repeating beats or accents in a poem. So it's the pattern that you're hearing in the poem. And to be very specific, it's the pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables. So I know you're probably thinking, I have no idea what that means. What do you mean by stressed and unstressed syllables? What does that mean? So it's the way that you're saying something. So when you're saying something or you're reading something, the parts of the word that you're focusing on, that you're saying more strongly, are your stressed syllables. And the parts that you're saying softly are your unstressed syllables. So I'm going to give you an example sentence. So if I say, my mother ate an apple and my father ate a pear. So could you hear the different stresses? So the parts that I said more strongly and the parts that I said more softly. So I'm going to rewrite the sentence for you so that you can pay attention to which parts I'm stressing and which parts are unstressed or they're said softer. So these are parts of the rhythm. So my mother, so the mother part of mother is said a little bit more strongly. So my mother ate an apple and my father ate a pear. So when you're seeing it as capital letters and lowercase letters, you can see, and you'll be able to hear it better when you try to read it, where the pattern is. So which words are unstressed and which words are stressed, or which, sorry, not which words, which syllables. So you can say over here, by looking at it, once we've written it this way, we can see that every other syllable here is stressed and every other syllable is unstressed. So we have unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed, unstressed, stressed, and on and on and on. So that's the rhythm. That's like the beat that you're hearing in the poem. If you're listening to a song, it's the beat that you're hearing in the song. And the last bit is word choice. So when we're talking about word choice in poetry, we're talking about using really expressive, really bright, colorful, meaningful words that help the reader build a really clear picture in their head, right? They're imagining the things that they're reading in this poem. And by using strong word choice, you're picking words that give the reader a really great picture in their head where they're able to imagine exactly what the author or the poet, a poet is an author of poems, exactly what the poet is writing about. Now over here, again, you have more multiple meaning words. So we did go over this last week, so I'm not going to go over it again, but the notes are here for you. So remember, multiple meaning words are words that have more than one meaning, and you use the clues around it to help you figure out which meaning of the word the author was talking about. Next, we have compound words. Now, compound words are words where you have two or more individual words that you put together to make a new word. Now, this is not the same as prefixes and suffixes where you're adding a piece onto a word. These are two complete words that you can use by themselves. And when you put them together, they give you a new meaning. So the word base and the word ball, you can put them together to make baseball. Back and pack, you can put together to make backpack. So if you're looking at these words, you can see that each one of these is its own word. It's a whole word all by itself, but you are able to put them together to make a new word. So classroom, race car, homework, all these different words are called compound words. Now, the next bit that we're going to talk about is called possessive nouns. Possessive nouns are nouns that show ownership. So when you possess something, you own that thing. It belongs to you, right? So possessive nouns can be singular or they could be plural. So singular means it belongs to one person, place, or thing, or plural means it belongs to more than one person, place, or thing. So let's go ahead and get started with our singular possessive nouns. Now, when we want to make a singular noun possessive, we add an apostrophe and an S to the end of the word. Now, an apostrophe basically looks like a comma, but it sits higher up. It doesn't sit on the line. So we add an apostrophe plus S to the end of a singular noun, even if that singular noun ends with an S. So this is where the rule gets a little bit silly. We're used to having, when something ends with an S, we add something different after it. But for a possessive noun, if it's a singular possessive noun, that we add an S, an apostrophe and an S to the end of it. So instead of saying the bowl that belongs to the cat, I say the cat's bowl, but I spell cats, C-A-T apostrophe S. If I say the pet that belongs to our class, I can say our class's pet. So our class, apostrophe S, pet. Now for plural possessives, and we're talking about regular plurals here. We're going to talk about irregular ones in a minute. For plural possessive nouns that already have an S on the end of them, we are going to add just an apostrophe after the S that's already there. So we're not going to add anything else. Because it's a regular plural noun, that means there's already an S on the very end of it. So you're just going to take an apostrophe and put it after that final S. So if I say the toys that belong to the group of kids, I can say the kids' toys, and I spell kids K-I-D-S apostrophe. Instead of saying the books that belong to all of the students, I can say the students' books. Students, S-T-U-D-E-N-T-S apostrophe, and then the word books. Now, of course, we have, like we talked about last week, irregular plural nouns. Now, when we want to make an irregular plural into a possessive, we are going to treat it the same way we treat a singular noun when we want to make it possessive, which means we add an apostrophe S, right? Because those words are not spelled the same way as they would be if they were regular plural nouns. So I put a chart for you over here in our notes to show you what different ones of these look like. Now we have our regular singular nouns over here. We have the plural nouns over here, the singular possessive versions of some of the nouns, the regular plural possessive forms, and the irregular possessive forms. So squirrel, one squirrel, the plural becomes squirrels with just an S on the end of it. If it's a singular possessive, like the acorn that belongs to the squirrel, I can say the squirrel's acorn, so squirrel apostrophe S. Or if I'm talking about the acorns that belong to the family of squirrels, I can say the squirrels with an S on the end of it and then a final apostrophe. The same rule goes for these other words. I'm going to skip down to the bottom over here where we have our irregular nouns. So child, the plural becomes children. But if I'm talking about one child and a toy that belongs to that one child, I'm going to say the child's toy. So child apostrophe S, child's toy. But since it's an irregular plural, I'm going to say the children's toys. So children apostrophe S, right? Because if it's an irregular plural, we're going to treat it the same way we treat the singular nouns. So person becomes people when it's plural. If I'm talking about something that belongs to one person, I can say that person's umbrella. So person apostrophe S, or those people's umbrellas, or the people's umbrellas. So apostrophe and then S after the word people. Man is singular, plural, it becomes men. If I'm talking about something that belongs to the man, I can say the man's car, or I can say the men's cars. So men is plural. So men apostrophe S makes it a plural possessive. So something that is possessed or that's owned by those men. Now tooth, plural becomes teeth. If I'm talking about something to do with the one tooth, so I can say about that tooth's cavity, right? That's the cavity for that one tooth. Or I can talk about someone's teeth, the teeth's color, for example. All right, now I already put some examples in here in your notes with some cute pictures to show you how we go from a regular noun to a possessive noun. So instead of saying the bow that belongs to the puppy, so I'm talking about one puppy, so that's a singular noun, it becomes the puppy's bow, so puppy apostrophe S. Instead of saying the green hat that belongs to the boy, I'm talking about one single boy, so it's a singular noun. I'll say the boy's green hat, so boy apostrophe S. Now for irregular plurals, I can say the playground that belongs to the children. So more than one child becomes children, so that's an irregular plural noun. So I'll say the children's playground, so children apostrophe S. Or the beautiful dresses that belong to the women. So women is an irregular plural because woman is one, A-N. When we make it plural, it becomes E-N at the end. So the women's beautiful dresses. So women apostrophe S. All right, that takes us to the end of our notes. Let's go ahead and jump into our stories for this week. Now, this week we're talking about poetry. So the genre that we're going to be working with this week is poetry.
Genre, poetry. Essential question. What do we love about animals? Read poems that express what we love about animals. Beetles by Monica Shannon. Beetles must use polish. They look so new and shiny, just like a freshly painted car, except for being tiny. The Little Turtle by Vachel Lindsay. There was a little turtle. He lived in a box. He swam in a puddle. He climbed on the rocks. He snapped at a mosquito. He snapped at a flea. He snapped at a minnow, and he snapped at me. He caught the mosquito. He caught the flea. He caught the minnow, but he didn't catch me. Gray Goose by Julie Larios. Gray Mama Goose in a tizzy, honk honk honking herself dizzy. Can't find her gosling, she's honking and running, webbed feet slapping, all wild waddle, her feathers a muddle, splashing through puddles, wings flapping. Ah, there's her gold baby, all fuzz, napping. Make connections. What do you love about this goose and her baby? What did the poems you have read this week express about how animals behave?
All right, let's get into our reading and writing workshop. And we're still talking about animals and poetry. And over here we have our vocabulary words for this week and the poetry words that we were talking about. All right, and our poem over here is about cats and kittens.
Genre, poetry, cats and kittens. Essential question. What do we love about animals? Read how poets describe animals they love. Cats and kittens express their views with hisses, purrs, and little mews. Instead of taking baths like me, they use their tongues quite handily. I wonder what my mom would say if I tried cleaning up that way. They stay as still can be, until a mouse they chance to see, and then in one great flash of fur, they pounce on a toy with a purr. By Constance Kermes. Desert camels. Camels have a hump on their backs to carry people and their sacks. They're very strong, don't mind the sun, won't stop for drinks until they're done. They give people a bouncy ride. They sway and move from side to side. I'd like a camel for a pet, but haven't asked my mother yet. By Martine Wren. A bat is not a bird. A bat has neither feathers nor beak. He does not chirp, just gives a shriek. He flies by hearing sounds like pings, flapping his leathery wings. At night when I'm asleep in my bed, he gets to fly around instead. By Trevor Reynolds.
All right, so let's go into our genre. So we're talking about poetry, and right now we're talking specifically about rhyming poems. So remember, a rhyming poem or any words that rhyme are words that have the same ending sound. And a rhyming poem is usually sharing how an author thinks or feels about something specific.
Rhyming poem. A rhyming poem has words that end with the same sounds. Tells a poet's thoughts or feelings. Find text evidence. I can tell that Cats and Kittens is a rhyming poem. The author tells her thoughts about cats. Also, the last words in lines 1 and 2 rhyme. Cats and kittens express their views with hisses, purrs, and little mews. Instead of taking baths like me, they use their tongues quite handily. I wonder what my mom would say if I tried cleaning up that way. They stay as still can be, until a mouse they chance to see, and then in one great flash of fur, they pounce on a toy with a purr. By Constance Kermes. Sometimes pairs of lines rhyme in a rhyming poem.
All right, we're also going to review key details. So this is the same comprehension skill that we talked about last week. So remember, we have the main idea and then we have key details. So the key details give additional information about what the author is talking to you about. So whatever the topic, the main topic of the poem is, the key details share extra information with you.
Key details. Key details give important information about a poem. You can find important information in the words, pictures, or photos. Find text evidence. As I read Desert Camels, I understand that camels are very strong. I read that they can carry people and their sacks. Graphic organizer. Detail. Camels can carry heavy loads.
All right, so let's get into some of our literary elements. So we're going to be talking about literary elements or different parts of literature or writing that show up in our passages. So we're going to focus over here on rhythm. Now we talked a little bit about rhythm during our notes. So we're going to get some additional information here. Now remember, rhythm is the repeating beats or accents when you're listening. So you can usually clap a rhythm or you can tap your foot to a rhythm. Let's go ahead and read here.
Rhythm. Poems have rhythm. Rhythm is the repeating accents in a poem. You can clap the rhythm or beats in a poem. Find text evidence. Reread Desert Camels and listen to the rhythm. Listen to the beats in each line. Think about why the poet uses rhythm. Desert Camels. Camels have a hump on their backs to carry people and their sacks. They're very strong, don't mind the sun, won't stop for drinks until they're done. They give people a bouncy ride. They sway and move from side to side. I'd like a camel for a pet, but haven't asked my mother yet. By Martine Wren. I clap the beats in the first line. There are 8 beats. There are also 8 beats in the second line. The beats make the poem fun to read.
All right, and we're going to review multiple meaning words one more time. Remember, these are words that have more than one meaning, and you figure out the meaning by using your context clues and looking at the words that are used around it.
Multiple meaning words. Multiple meaning words are words that are spelled the same but have more than one meaning. You can use context clues to help you understand the correct meaning. Find text evidence. In "A bat is not a bird," I see the word bat. I know a bat is an animal and also something you use to play baseball. The words feathers and beak tell me the author is talking about an animal. A bat has neither feathers nor beak.
All right, that takes us to the end of our language arts notes for this week. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. If you have any questions, definitely let me know. Otherwise, I hope you have an amazing day. Take care.